Hello everyone, this is Shadow Dragon back with another episode of DC Universe Online. So today we're going to be looking at the Community Style Initiative. So this is not going to be a gameplay video, but we're going to break down what's going on with this voting of a future gear set. So way back in March, MEPS posted a thread asking for suggestions on what could possibly be a full gear suit in some future content. So we're going to be looking at about, I think they said, like a year or two into the future, because it takes some time to make these things, and also it probably has to fit like some kind of promotion for the release, whether it's going to be an episode or a capsule. It has to like somewhat fit thematically. So yeah, anyway, this ran for 33 pages. I'm not going to go through too much of this because we're going to go look at the survey where they narrowed it down. So they probably just flipped through all these and saw which ones got like reposted, or maybe they counted the votes, but they narrowed it down to 9. So this is now April 20th. And part of the reason I'm doing this is because the server is down and the game is down for 24 hours, so we're going to be looking at this instead. Okay, so this is the survey. I had to pull it up on an incognito window because I already filled it out. When you pull this up, they will appear in random order, as a survey should be, so that way it's not favoring one or the other. Alright, so here are the rules. There are going to be 3 rounds of voting. So with this, it's starting out with 9, and then the next round will be 6, and then down to 3. So they're going to eliminate 3 basically each time. Okay, so looking at the final 9 from the community forum, we're starting out with Yara Flor, and she is the Brazilian Wonder Woman that is in DC's current story arc called Future State. So I guess what we should do is talk about whether or not these can be done, because some of these may be doable with current styles already. And I guess if it's most of them are probably going to be full sets anyway. But we want to look at the uniqueness, because we don't want a repeat of something that we already have, or something that's too easily replicatable. So starting out with Yara Floor, we definitely can't make this. I don't think we have any sets that have like an Under Armor that's like sort of like cloth and then metal over it. I don't think we have too many of those. There's not too much variation in Yara Flor, simply because she's new. Very new to DC Comics. So let's take a look at a Google image search. There may have been like 1 or 2 revisions, because I think when Future State first came out, there was like 1 set of armor, and then it adjusted a little bit. I know Batman adjusted from the initial comic book. But yeah, Yara Flora, yeah, there are some variants, but it's basically like some shiny gold metal over a combination of red and blue Under Armor. And I guess the other thing we should evaluate is how well the pieces would do on other armor. So whether or not you can mix and match this. And I think this one would actually do very well, because you have like the chest would be this red and blue Under Armor. You get the gold piece here. The shoulder would go over it. Bracers would go over that also. So obviously we need more bracer styles always. And I don't know, the way I would do this, like the lower part, is I would make the thigh-high wrappings here part of the legs, and then for the feet I would put the gold armor over that. So that would definitely be reusable on other styles if the gold part was separated from the cloth, basically. So this is potentially a very versatile set. And then we're looking at General Zod Kryptonian armor. Now, we can't make this exactly, but we can get really close with this one. The one that's closest to this is a Zod-inspired one already. It's called Phantom Zone Reaver. It was an older PvP set, I believe, on the villain side. But yeah, you can't make this exactly. I mean, there's only one. There's just a Hades cape that goes over like that. But this one, I would say, doesn't stray far from the parts that we have. And Zod's armor is very organic. So like you see the shoulders flow into the arm. Although it could still be separated out as a different style. So that's not really a negative at all. Okay, moving down, we have the Jaime Reyes version of Blue Beetle. This is probably one of the most interesting ones. I would lean towards voting for this one, actually. The main reason being is, like, his armor is battle reactive, if you've watched the cartoons. So normally, like, all the weaponry is not displayed, like, if he's not in battle. It is sort of like an alien AI, so it'll detect the situation and then give him, like, whatever tools he needs. So the way I envision this is that it'll be our first battle reactive set, where you could possibly, like, transform and animate I would do, like, the back, shoulders, and hands. So when he goes into combat, those will do, like, a short animation, and it'll be a different form. We've had battle reactive effects before, but we haven't had a shape change, I don't think. So that would be interesting to do, if even technically possible. So yeah, this would be one of my top ones. Queen Marella, I'm not actually that familiar with. Looking at this picture here, we definitely do not have this in shape or texture form, because this looks like sort of almost an Amazonian shape, but it's got like a shell type hard pattern. So she has a lot of variation, but the consistent parts are she's using some sort of sea-like texture, whether it be like coral or shells. And then there's always like a transparent skirt or cape. So yeah, this would be very unique. This is probably the one that would be referenced the most, because this one would, like, fill all of the slots. The headpiece would be the second helmet that allows long hair. Like, this would be pretty similar to the Athena helmet. The thing that I'd be curious about is whether or not this transparency is doable. Right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of a style we have that's transparent, that has transparent cloth. I mean, we've had, like, special effects capes before in the capsules. The Circe cape it's sort of like a pseudo-transparent, because it puts, like, a clear texture mixed with a color. But yeah, this would be interesting. And the styles, because of the texture, probably wouldn't mix and match as well as others unless you override it with like a textured chroma. Okay, Hawkgirl Earth2. We can make this like shape-wise, but the way they divided the slots, we don't have this. We don't have a chest that looks like this. And I don't think we have a Thanagarian helmet that lets the hair down. So something as simple as that would be introduced if this style won. The pants would be pretty interesting because we don't have too many slim lines that have strapped items and strapped gear on them. The feet, again, we're lacking this type of style where there's like an anklet that goes over a continuous slim line going from pants to feet. But out of the set, this is probably the least exotic. We can probably create something close to this, but not exactly. So, well, I think all the styles on here are good, but this is not one I would vote for. Okay, Jonah Hex. So, nothing like too special about this one. However, this one is going to do well with voting simply because we don't have that many trench coats in the game. I think Gunslinger might even be somewhat based on Jonah Hex already, but that's not a common style, and more trench coats are always good. Let's see what kind of variations we get on Jonah Hex, because I don't think he has like a set suit. They just give him like different variations of like trench coats and like straps around them. So here he kind of has that cowl over the trench coat. I like this one here, because this one would fill in like some slots that are missing from the basic Jonah Hex suit. So you've got like shoulders, you can add these. We probably can't have the straps going over the coat though, because they have to like make the coat sort of like wide enough for us to choose a belt. Common complaint about some of the older trench coats is that you can't choose a belt. So some of the newer ones, they kind of like fattened up the top here so that you could pick the belt. So I think this one here is actually a better reference than the one they use in the survey. And yeah, Jonah Hex is one that people are definitely going to mix and match the trench coat with other styles. Okay, Brainiac Kalluan armor. We're going to need a better look at that one, because that is just a bust shot. Brainiac Kalluan armor. Okay, so these are some better shots. It looks like they have that in Injustice already. The Brainiac armor, I would say, again, we can get pretty close to it, but not exactly. So I wouldn't put this at the top. I'd say Brainiac is somewhere in the middle. Like, this would still be interesting to have. Definitely some usable parts. Now, if this one ends up winning, what I'd like to see is, them going back to the Tier 2 villain style. Because those are basically our introduction to accessories They were basically accessories before we got accessories. Because if you look at the Tier 2 villain set, each of them had like some kind of special effect built in. So that's what I would want to see with this one, whether like making these glow and maybe have some smoke come out of them or something, some kind of particles come out of them. Okay, next up is Asriel. This is my personal favorite. He is oddly missing from the game. Like they do acknowledge the events of Nightfall, Night Quest, Night's End, and they have Bane in the game, but Asriel is somehow missing. So yeah, this is an interesting style because it's basically a modern knight. If Asriel wins, I would hope they don't go with this one. I think this is the modern remake of it. I would want the original one. So we're going to do Asriel, DC Comics, and see if that pulls up the variety. He does have a couple of interesting suits. So this is the one they referenced. This is the original from Sword of Asriel, created by Joe Quesada. And this was a revamp to his father's armor. I don't think that probably doesn't show up, but it looks something like this, where it's like a knight armor. And then in the middle of that series, this armor got destroyed. And they basically recreated this one that's like reinforced Kevlar. And for convenience, they put arm swords instead of him carrying around the two-handed. And then the large gloves hold like what he needs to light it on fire. So with this set, it's one of those where we can sort of like finesse it, but not really. Because if you start out with the head, this is basically a mask with a hood over it, which we don't have. You can definitely get some parts to fake it, but we just don't have a full mask that you could put a hood over. You have to use like one of the ventilators and then like color the skin black to kind of like black it out, except for the eyes. The cape is not doable. We have several capes that come close, because what the Asriel cape is, it's a basic split cape, but it's also got the ribbons on it. So you have to superimpose the basic split cape with the hawk ribbons, and then he's got this part that wraps around to the chest, and then it's got these knight symbols. The chest is basically the Virtuous Knight style, except Virtuous Knight puts the knight symbol on the armor, and Asriel has it on the cloth. So slot-wise, we can't come up with this, but it would just be like a close inspired by if we were to try to make this now. And the arm swords we don't have. Now if this one won, I would try to push them to make these battle reactive, so that the blades are in when he's out of combat, and then they come out when he's in combat. So, I mean, if they were able to do that, this would be really good if you had like the martial arts or brawling weapon set, and then you set the gloves to be bare hands, so that way it defaults to the armor. I think that would be really cool. Alright, flipping back. And Big Barta is the last one. Now, this one we do have in the game already. The Halls of Power dropped item, the purple set, is called Furious, based on Big Barta. It's not exactly this, because I think the helmet doesn't have like the longer horns, but shape-wise it does replicate Big Barta already. Let's see, like if that one happened to win, I would wonder if there's some kind of variant that's more detailed. Like off the top of my head, I don't think Barta has that much variation across her like different media and artists. So that's the comic book. The animated series is of course simplified over here, but it's basically the same shape and pattern. They just get rid of the scale mail for trying to simplify the detail. So Bardos is sort of like she's like a futuristic samurai armor. Okay, this one has some variation. But for the most part, you have like the blue scales with the with the gold plate above it. That's typically what most versions of Barta look like. So yeah, this is not one I would vote for. However, the current Furious style we have in game isn't super detailed. The takeaway for people wanting this is like I would go back and refresh that style and maybe release it as a gift or something. The same way they did with the Tier 2 hero armors, where there was like a Dark Spectre 2018, Hera 2020, I think. I would do that with this one rather than make this a new set. But yeah, this making it up through the voting does put it on the radar. Okay, so out of all these sets, the two I like best, and it's really hard to vote for these two, because I want the battle reactiveness of this one, Blue Beetle, and my personal favorite is Asriel. Now both of them I argue to be battle reactive, but Asriel is only the hands, so the more extreme animation would be Blue Beetle. I would just really like to see that. But between the two, like if I'm thinking about how to separate the parts for use with other sets, because I rarely use the full armor. I just like to create my own, so I would take pieces of these. Even on Asriel, I would just take pieces of his instead of like using the full suit, because then I'd just be like everyone else if I did that. Yeah, between the two, Asriel's is probably more separatable. Again, I don't want to reference that one. Let's pull up the OG one so we can talk about it. Yeah, this can easily be separated out. It'd be pretty cool to have the cape separated out, where you have a style that wraps around the chest. You have the ribbons and then the split cape in the back. Like, if that could be moved to different characters, that could make a lot of interesting combinations. Now, Blue Beetle, not so much, because he's kind of organic, and the armor is meant to be... It's almost like a Venom symbiote, where it's a living AI. So it is meant to be almost a one piece, even though in DC Universe Online it would have to be split into the slots. It may not work as well separated out. So yeah, that's my take on these sets. What do you guys think, and which ones did you vote for? So this is round 1, and we'll probably take a look at this again in round 2. Thanks for watching.